Yo, what's going on, my buddies? Totaljophes coming at you with my top 10 greatest games of all time. Okay, so I've got a couple of rules for this list. Just a couple. First off is one game per series. And I do use the word series a little bit differently. You'll see what I mean when we get to my number 4 and number 2 picks for this list. Second, you're not going to find a whole lot of classic games on this list. I guess it's not really a rule, but it's more just that I thought they deserve their own list, because there is a lot of classic games out there that I absolutely love. And so they're not going to be on this list because I'm going to do a whole another top 10 countdown for them. So if you don't see something like, say, some sort of classic N64 game or something like that, it's probably going to be in the next list. Not to say that there's not going to be any classics in this list, because there are some that I just feel put the rest in the dust. But, yeah, there it is. So, without further ado, here we go. Okay, so for number 10, I've got Batman Arkham Asylum, which I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, Arkham City's better, or Arkham Knight's better, and, I mean, chances are not a lot of you are thinking Arkham Origins is better, but hey, if you are, good on you. But Arkham Asylum, in my opinion, was the game that really did the best job at making you feel like Batman. I mean, the boss battles were freaking perfect, and it was the first really amazing Batman game that we've gotten in a long time, if ever. I don't actually know about any other awesome Batman games, so that tells you about it right there. And just the helplessness that you feel of being trapped on an island in an asylum alone against all of these other enemies, led by the freaking Joker of all people. I mean, it was just so crazy. Arkham City was good. I loved it. Arkham Knight was good. Way too much tank action, but I still loved it. But Arkham Asylum, it's just the best Batman game, and number 10 on this list. Okay, so for number 9, I've got Dynasty Warriors 8. That may or may not have pissed a lot of you guys off, because I know that the Dynasty Warriors series gets a lot of hate. It gets a lot of flack for not being innovative, being repetitive, not having character depth, not having good enough story, all of that crap, but honestly, I grew up with Dynasty Warriors, okay? My very first Dynasty Warriors was Dynasty Warriors 4. And ever since then, I've just loved the fast-paced action, the way they make you feel like a freaking god on the battlefield that can just cut through thousands of enemies. And I have a special spot in my heart for Dynasty Warriors, and Samurai Warriors and Warriors of Crochi, but I had to narrow it down to one. And this one is Dynasty Warriors 8. It felt to me that it was just the best that Dynasty Warriors had to offer. It had the biggest roster of characters. Every single person had a different moveset, and a lot of the movesets were actually really cool and really unique. And I did still love the story, and all in all, it's just the greatest Dynasty Warriors game, at least in my opinion, and I really think it deserves the spot of number 9 on this list. Okay, so for number 8, we've got Star Ocean 3 Till the End of Time. Now, yes, this is another game that gets a lot of hate, specifically for the twist that happens later in the game, which I won't spoil just in case any of you guys haven't played it and are planning on it. But, needless to say, yes, this twist gets a lot of hate because it changes everything that you thought so far about the entire Star Ocean game series. But honestly, whereas a lot of people really hate it, I kind of liked it. I liked that twist. I thought it was really epic. And I know a lot of other games or movies or whatever have done twists similar to that, but up until that point, I'd never seen a twist like that. So I thought it was absolutely badass. I loved every freaking character in that game. Albel Knox for the freaking win. And I loved the action. I loved the story. Like I said, I loved the twist. And it was also my first Star Ocean game. I've since played the others, and honestly, Star Ocean 3, it just left the best taste in my mouth. I could not help but love it. And so that is why it is number 8 on my top 10 greatest games of all time.
Sparta existed. How do I know? Well, I met the sons of Sparta. Both of them.
Oh, here we go. Number 7 is Devil May Cry 3. Specifically, Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition. Now, the reason for this should be fairly obvious. This game is Dante at his best. Devil May Cry 1 was great. Devil May Cry 4 didn't have enough of him. And Devil May Cry 2 absolutely fucking ruined him. Devil May Cry 3, though, is the definitive version of Dante, at least in my opinion. The action is fast-paced and hectic and badass as ever, and I love the style system. I love all of the weapons. Specifically, I loved Nevan, the guitar, scythe, electric weapon. That was sick as hell. And I loved being able to play as Virgil in the Special Edition. I mean, that was cool! Not to mention the story of Dante fighting his equal in the form of Virgil. That was just so badass. Not to mention that, you know, he's his twin brother of all things. That's so freaking cool. And the Devil May Cry series has always been so cool, in my opinion. So, I had to put the best game in that series, at least as far as I think, on this list. So there it is.
The way I see it, there's basically 2 types of people. All stubborn guys like me. We may not like the hell that happens to us, but we deal with it. There are guys like you.
Coming in at number 6, we've got Infamous 2. I've got a lot of fond memories about the Infamous games. I loved Second Son, and of course the first Infamous will always have a special spot in my heart. But Infamous 2, I just felt was the best of all of them. I really also did love the DLC, which, I mean, it was standalone and it was super badass, but Infamous 2, I mean, I'm a sucker for superhero games, and Infamous really was a superhero game at heart. And Infamous 2, improving on everything that Infamous 1 had built, was just fantastic. Cole was the best that he could possibly be in that game. I loved messing shit up with the amp. I loved fighting the Beast. I loved the story. I really did. Cole preparing to face off with the Beast and everything. I mean, oh, it was so good. Not to mention the twist, but I didn't like the ending, at least if you go with the good route. And, yeah, it is what it is. But nonetheless, Infamous 2 is one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion, and that is why it's on this list. Okay, now if you know anything about me, the number one thing that you should know about me is that I am a massive RPG fanatic. As such, Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts are my 2 favorite game franchises of all time. Nothing beats them, in my opinion. So, naturally, I had to throw a Kingdom Hearts game somewhere on this list. And Kingdom Hearts 2 was the best Kingdom Hearts game, at least as far as I think. Here's why. The fucking Drive Forum system. Oh my god! I loved it so much. Not to mention, it had some of the greatest worlds. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean, the Pride Lands. It was so great. Not to mention, this was the game where Organization 13 managed to star. And oh my god, every time one of them showed up, you felt their presence. And it was so amazing. So as such a great Kingdom Hearts fan, I honestly had to put Kingdom Hearts 2 here. My only regret is that it is a little bit lower on the list, But what can I say? There are just a few that I think are even better. But yes, there it is. Coming in at number 4 is Final Fantasy Dissidia Duodecim. Now, the Dissidia series, once again, is a game series that gets kind of a bit of hate, primarily due to the lack of story, which, when Final Fantasy really emphasizes on story more often than not. Personally, I disagree. I kind of found the story pretty entertaining. Yes, it wasn't as in-depth as most Final Fantasy games get to be, but it was still absolutely amazing. Now, here's why I really love this game, though. Throughout my entire life, I've been a massive Final Fantasy geek, and I always wondered what it would be like to make Squall fight Sephiroth, or to make Tidus fight Zidane, or to make Cloud fight Cecil, you know, that sort of shit. That was always something I thought of, and Dissidia brought that into my hands, and it did it well. I loved the battle system, the bravery system was really cool, and oh my god, the fan service. I finally got to pair all of these fighters up against each other, and it was so expertly handled. It was also beautiful, the graphics were amazing, even on something like the PSP, which was a very powerful system. But yes, and Duodecim was Dissidia and then some. Literally. Like, it actually had everything from Dissidia, including the story, but it also built upon that, had its own story as well, not to mention the new characters, which all had their own unique movesets, and okay, I need to stop myself before I keep ranting too much, but yes, Duodecim, one of the greatest games of all time in my opinion, and it deserves its spot on this list. And finally, the top 3. And number 3 is Tales of Xulia. Buckle in, because I've got a little bit of a story about this one. One day, I go in to Walmart with my girlfriend. She finds this random-ass game I've never heard of called Tales of Xulia. And she thought it looked really cool. She has a knack for picking out games. And so, I'd never heard of it, so I thought, I really didn't want to get this. I told her, are you sure you want to get this? Are you positive? There are other games we know of. She was insistent on it. So, we got it. I brought it home, I started playing, I quit a little bit into it because it was just too slow for me. But, later on, I picked it up again and I got a little bit further. And holy freaking shit! As an RPG fanatic, this game was so freaking godly! Oh my god, I can't even describe it. Yes, it is slow to start, but once you get into it, the combat system is very in-depth, and is very intricate and well done. You can use each and every one of the characters whenever the hell you feel like it, which is awesome. The shop system I love. You level it up as much as you want. You want a new weapon, you level up the weapon shop. You want new armor, you level up the armor shop. The shop system is what you want it to be, which is so badass. And I loved the Lilium Orbs as far as leveling went. You really got to customize how you leveled up. The freedom in which you leveled up was so amazing. The story on top of it was also badass. It gave me one of my favorite characters of any game ever in the form of Gaius. And I need to stop myself again because I'm starting to make this one too long. But yes, Tales of Xulia, unsurpassed by Xulia 2 or by Zestiria, is just one of the greatest games of all time and number 3 on this list. Number 2. Now don't hate me, I know this is technically a Final Fantasy game, but hear me out. I don't really consider Duodecim part of the main Final Fantasy series, so I do consider the main titled Final Fantasies separate from the Dissidia series. As such, I think this falls within my rules of only one game per series. Now, Final Fantasy VI. Oh my god, what an RPG that game is. Naturally, because I'm such an RPG fan, this list is filled with them. But, you know, that's just the way it is. I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off by not having Final Fantasy VII, but Final Fantasy VI was just so great. It had so many characters in it. Something like, I think, 12 to 14 playable characters at the end? Holy shit, guys. And the story. It's the only story I've ever seen where the bad guy wins. Yeah, spoilers, Kefka wins. He becomes God. He destroys the world. He rules it for a full year. And the hopelessness you have for the second half of the game that gradually, slowly builds with every character you find in this destroyed world, to the point where you actually start seeing a faint glimmer of hope, all the way up until the point where you're actually going to Kefka's tower and defeating a man that has become God. Not to mention the symbolism in his final battle. Oh, dear Jesus, this game was amazing. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat from beginning to end. Each and every character is so well written, so amazing, and it definitely deserves its spot in one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and of course, the spot as number 2 on my list. And now for a few honorable mentions. These games didn't quite make the list, but I still love them, and they nearly did. Finally, up to number 1. Petitions all across the internet for a sequel or a prequel or a remake. A fan base that is undying till this day. A story that has absolutely destroyed so many other stories in other games, that has earned a very special spot in my heart, and was my first ever time crying to the story of a video game. Legend of Dragoon will always be the greatest game of all time, in my opinion. See, as an RPG fan, I absolutely love a great story. Legend of Dragoon delivers and then some. I love great character depth. Once again, delivers and then some. I love an epic combat system. Yet again, delivers and then some. In fact, my only complaint about the game, really, is just the limited inventory space. Other than that, this game was just so freaking amazing. I loved the story from beginning to end, especially the twist about who the main villain is going to end up being. Well, more or less the main villain. Again, I won't spoil it, but yeah, quite the twist. Not to mention the death of an important character partway through the story. Not to mention the addition combat system was always action-packed, fast-paced, and just so badass. I loved each and every character, and becoming a Dragoon and all of their attacks having cutscenes to them was wicked! Oh my god, I love this game so much. It is my childhood in a nutshell as far as video games go. And dear god, I highly doubt any game will ever top this game as far as number 1 goes. And, I will continue to sit through E3 every year, praying with false hope that they acknowledge this game once more and do something with it. Yet, end up, at the end of E3 every year, disappointed. So, there you have it, guys. Those are my top 10 favorite games of all time. Like I said, Legend of Dragoon just probably isn't ever going to be topped in my opinion. And I am such an RPG fan. I'm sorry if that list had an ass ton of RPGs in it, but that's just the way I am. I love story more than anything in a video game. And, you know, adding a badass combat system on top of it never hurts. So, what do you guys think? I want to know what your favorite games of all time are. Leave them in the comments section down below, and tell me whether or not you agree or disagree with any entry on my list, or my list as a whole. Definitely leave a like on this video, and subscribe for future videos, because I will be uploading multiple every week. So that'd be about it. So until next time, stay pretty, my buddies, and go play Legend of Dragoon.